Come on, don't be a rookie. Give me the thumbs up when you're ready with the camera. Come on. There you go. First day camp for everybody.
First day camp, how are you feeling entering your second season here as the head coach?
No, awesome. Really fired up about this team, really fired up about the organization, really fired up about our fan base and the ability for those guys to come back into our training camp and for us to get that kind of energy going. But, obviously you want to ease into it. And just like we'll do with our players, this is our acclimation period. We'll have, a couple of days here being acclimated, get the guys going. Obviously we'll be, kind of that OTA fashion, but a little bit faster. And getting those guys going and getting more ramped up, is the proper way to get our guys prepared. Obviously they had a really good offseason, really good job training. They've all gone away. They've all come back feeling really good, and we'll ease these guys into it until we get into the normal flow of things and how we want to go about our business.
Where are you health-wise? Do you have fitness tests, and where are you at with some of the guys who were not available because of injury?
We could talk about probably the main one is Troy. Obviously the guys had the physical test coming back from last week. He'll be the guy that will put a designation on, a PUP designation, obviously, to get him ready. But he is on track. He's doing really well. He's in great spirits. He looks amazing. How you doing? Come on in. Can't get fined on the first day. He's one of the guys. He looks well. Obviously with Kyle Pitts this offseason, we operated with an abundance of caution to get him ready. He's been cleared. He's ready to go. But we'll obviously use with him and a couple other guys some of the normal modifications that you've seen from us in the past, with the guys, the David Onyemadas, the Jake Matthews and things of that nature. It's not that we'll keep them out, but we'll take them off of some things and take some things off of their plates to make sure we get things the right way. Obviously, Caleb is back. He's probably one of the major ones you want to know about. And he'll have some of the same modifications that we normally do with our guys as they come back, as we get them back into the program, get them back up to court up to full speed for whatever the reasons are.
And was Troy a knee? It was so long ago.
Yeah, you like me right now. I'm the same way. Yes.
You've talked about
Braylon Trice, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
He's a big one.
Braylon Trice is a big one. Braylon Trice is ready to go. Obviously he'll come back. He'll have some of the modification that we just talked about to get him back going, right? This will be a first time out there going full speed. So you'll see him and a couple of the things that we have. We have these different, terms and tags that we all have in our world. Modification 1, modification 2, full go, and all those type of things. But he'll be one of our guys that kind of go through that process so we can get him going and get him acclimated.
You talked about the confidence that you have in Kyle and him taking that next step. How does he get to that point?
I think Kyle has been a talking point for all of us, right? Everybody is trying to duplicate his rookie season. Everybody wants to duplicate his rookie season. Everybody wants to do all those things. But I think Kyle's just got to go out and be the best version of himself. And I think the way he's going to do that is what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, working with Michael Penix, having the ability to go out there and find a plan for him to operate an individual, have a plan for him to operate in team, what we want to do, and what can we get the best version of him. And I think those are the things that we're working on right now. I think the communication is at a very high level right now between him and Zach Robinson. I think the communication is at a very high level right now between him and his coach Koger, myself, and the organization included. I'm really fired up and I'm pumped up to see where we can go and what we can do from a standpoint of those guys having time to get some time together this offseason.
Zach obviously ran a lot of wide receiver sets with the Rams. How do you see that changing now that Kyle's in the equation?
It's not that it has to change because Kyle's definitely a part of those heavy wide-out sets as well because he plays in our 11 package a bunch. Obviously, we have Charlie, so we're to mix them in there, but we do have 12. We do have 21. We have a bunch of different sets that we can get into that we did last year as well. You can operate those things based on game plans. You can operate those things based on practice. And you can operate those things based on personnel, and which we'll do. And I'm really fired about that exposure as well.
How's your team feel different for you coming into training camp as a head coach?
That's a good question, Allison. It's like I don't know if it feels different. I just think it feels more settling, more at ease. I think it feels even more familiar than it had felt before. Being back the second time, being back with the same people, being back with a lot of the new faces, being back with your second draft class, all of those things, being your second year with Terry Fontenot and that crew and Kyle Smith and Ryan Pace. The operation of all that feels really comfortable. Coming back with the entire offensive staff coming back with a lot of the defensive guys coming back with some additions, some old faces, some of the additions that we can do on defense, some of the things that we can have happen, some of the comfort that you have in your special teams. I think all of those things play into a factor. Some of the things that are comfortable even with your leadership, when you're talking about all the way up to ownership, with Arthur and Blank and what the plan is and how we're going to go move forward. I think that's all something that makes you feel a lot more comfortable in year 2 than you even felt in year 1.
Is there a position battle that you're looking forward to watching?
There's a bunch. They're all over the place, particularly on defense. We got some really good battles over there. well documented. Offense, we're probably a little bit more established on who's going to be doing what and who's playing where. Obviously, we'll have a brand new center out there at a full-time basis, even though he started a bunch of games for us. We got to find ways to get Tyler on the field. We got to find ways to get Bijan on the field. So all of those things, all of those kind of chessmates on offense are kind of always fun. On defense, we got some real battles. We got new linebackers. We got some people new in the secondary. We got people new up front. We got some second-year players that are getting the chance to get some exciting things to happen. When you talk about Dulles and the Rook and the Trice coming back, you got your new rookies coming in. Talking about Jalen Walker, you got Pierce. Who's playing what role, who's doing what, and expecting high contributions from those really 2 years of young classes. Right, last year. It was well documented. We had an older veteran team on defense that we played with those guys, and now that crew from last year. We call them sophomores, but really, freshmen, so to speak. Man, those guys are ready to go. We got a big, deep class there.
Coach, when will y'all put full pads on?
It happens after the acclimation period is over. I believe we have acclimation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it comes on. So I think it's like Monday, I believe. Tuesday? Yeah. So it's Monday's the off day. So Tuesday coming back off the off day is the day.
You talked about the evolution in the last 20 years about rookies coming in more prepared now than maybe 20 years ago, and how the technology and what it is they have available to them all year might make that so?
That is a good one, and I'm not sure if it's the rookie coming in more prepared or some of the NFL adjusting to some of their game a little bit more. I think our game is starting to look a lot like college, and I think when our game's starting to look a lot like college, they're doing some of the things in college that they're going to come do with us. Hard to say they're more prepared. I coached a guy like A.J. Terrell, and that was years ago. He came in as prepared as you can be as a rookie. But these guys are coming in ready to play, ready to go, situationally, full-time, whatever the case may be, because I think our game's starting to evolve more like a college look. Some of the schemes are different, obviously, but I think it's starting to really just catch up, so to speak.
Raheem, you mentioned the changes on defense. Eventually, what would you like the identity of your defense to be?
We always have the identity questions here, and I hate answering that one because I just believe that the team definitely defines it each year. I think that identity has to come out. Like I always love to get up and talk, and I know Jeff Ulbrich will have a real core belief on what he's talking about, what he wants to show. But really, for me, it comes out when you turn on the tape, right? When he talks about his heart, he talks about his mind, he talks about his fists. He'll get up here and talk to you ad nauseum about that, and that's definitely something where you want to come out. And it's like those are definitely going to be parts of it, and then I'll let you know what it looks like when we get a chance to look at the tape.
Raheem, going back to Caleb a little bit, obviously a really good run blocker, but someone who has to now cover the blind side of a left-handed quarterback. What's the level of confidence as far as him being in that role now?
I addressed this kind of once before, Mark, and it was kind of, it's a little different now with the old school blind side when you were straight up on the center, dropping back from 7-step drop and 5-step drop, where a lot of it's in shotgun, a lot of it's in pistol. And I don't necessarily know if it's necessarily as blind as it used to be. You still do some up under things, so for sure. But I have so much confidence in Caleb and his ability to go out there and play at a high level, no matter what side he's blocking on. Obviously he excels in the run game. We can talk about top 5 on that side rushing the ball, right? And then obviously our other side excels in the pass game. We're talking about Jake Matthews and Bergeron over there. But I got a lot of confidence in what he can do, and if he has some issues, which we all going to have with some of those people on the edge, some of those freaks, you got to provide the proper help for him.
And then just Morgan Fox, we didn't see him during the spring. Is he here?
He fires me up. Came back, in high condition. I'm looking forward to seeing the real Morgan Fox go out there in training camp, and he'll go out and be right into it and get right into the mix.
And DeMarco Helms, is he?
DeMarco Helms, he started to come on towards the end of OTA days. Looked really good, looked fast, looked explosive. Started to put some back-to-back days together, so he'll be out there ready to go as well.
Coach, how will you all formulate your exhibition season play plan? Last year, you all, hit the ground running with, not playing. Will you stick to that type of plan this year, or you and the coaches still decide?
To be very similar, but you make those decisions based on how much work you get. So we got to get through training camp. We got to get to a certain point to see the work that we got. We got to get to a certain point with our joint practice to see what we can get there. We got to get to that scrimmage that we have and we're doing on ourselves to see the work that you get there. You got to really be able to apply those things and take along those metrics on how much work you can get, how much competitive edge you can get, how much competitive work you can get to make those decisions. So, we're a little far away from making those decisions yet, but obviously the philosophy. Anything we can do to mitigate as many injuries as we can based on the work that we're able to get from the practice standpoint to determine what we need from the games.
Bryce, as far as the rotation and position balance, so when do you think that, just looking at the edge group and how those guys are so young, and you got some guys in the interior that's young as well, when do you feel like you should understand what their rotation is going to look like once the season gets going?
Well, you know what those guys is, you got to get the pads, So obviously once you get the pads, those things kind of sort themselves out. And then once you get the pads, you kind of stay in pads for a while. And that gets you into your block 2s, and that gets you into your block 3. And when you get to that block 3, you start to see some of those roles being defined. You start to see some of those that role clarity happen for the coaching staff. You start to see some of that role clarity happen for your players. And then once you guys get into that situation, that's when we get to that thing, the dreaded depth chart that comes out, right? And then you got to actually get into the game to see what the situational things happen and how they play. And once those things happen, you kind of get the clarity from that point on to where you can get going to find out who's doing what right, who's not doing what right, the constant evaluation of everything that's happening, and you make those decisions based on that.
Also, as far as usage for John Robinson, he had over 350, he had 365 touches last year. Is there a governor, so to speak, put on him as far as not being one willing to use him so much, or is it kind of just like, hey, however we need him, we're going to do it?
Yeah, I hate to say it's a governor put on Bijan. It's never looked at that way, but you definitely want to protect that kind of a unique athlete. And there's unique athletes like that you could protect them from themselves. Like he doesn't need a governor, he doesn't need anything, but like he's certainly one of those guys that can carry the load. He's certainly one of those guys that has carried the load for us, and he could definitely do that. But we just happen to have some really good backs. Him and Tyler, split some of those carries. Him and Tyler play together. Him and Tyler are able to do all those things. So we have a luxury of having a guy like Tyler on our team, and hopefully some other young backs that can step and do some really good things for us as well.
Raheem, I'm interested in your thoughts on Younghoe, who obviously entering his 7th season as a Falcon, but statistically not his best year last year.
Yes.
And also coming off the hip injury where you had to place him on injured reserve.
No doubt. I am really excited to see Younghoe have a bounce back year, and really excited to watch him come back. I got so much confidence in Younghoe because I started with him. I got so much confidence in Younghoe because I gave him his first opportunity. So I've seen him battle through adversity, and I've seen him fight back, and I've seen him find a way to make it work. And just the personality of the guy, the toughness, the mental toughness, the character. I got a lot of confidence that he'll be able to do it, and then he'll show us. And I just got a lot of confidence he'll do that.
Knowing that he's going to get first-team snaps from day one this year, 2-minute drill, middle of the 3rd quarter, how much are you looking forward to working Wednesday and Thursday about changing the tempo of the game with the quarterback? Running a 2-minute type offense, perhaps not in the last 2 minutes of a game. Is that something that's sort of in the game plan to change tempo?
We always that's kind of a big deal with us just in general from last year. I don't know if it's just I don't want to call it a 2-minute, but we definitely could change pace of the game. We have our attack packages. We can get out there and get a line of scrimmage pretty quickly. Obviously some of the transition that the league's going to, but going forward on 4th down is kind of transitioning pretty quickly. You don't see a lot of huddles when people are going forward. There's some known plays, there's some known things that you want to get out there and get done that are really easy for our guys to execute. So we'll have some 2-minute philosophies when you start doing some of those things, which you always have, and we had last year, that really worked well for us, and then kind of makes you drop back happy at times, and you just got to make sure you just guard it with some of those things.
Did anyone report that's supposed to be here, or is anyone missing or holding out at all?
No, we full boated. We got everybody in. Everybody checked in yesterday. Had our meetings last night. Had our bed check last night, and everybody's in.
And I haven't had a chance to talk to you, but what were your thoughts just on the quarterback Netflix series when it came to Kirk Cousins and everything like that?
It happened so live for me when it was going on. It wasn't as interesting as it was to the country. For us, because it was kind of old news, kind of addressed it as it was happening. So everything that happened was oh yeah, we addressed that when it was happening. We addressed all those things. So it was kind of revisiting history, but we kind of addressed all those things. Nothing was a shocker. Nothing came out new, and obviously they do such a great job with Netflix. And they do such a great job of portraying the story. It's just interesting for everybody else. So I get the buzz, but for me, it was just kind of I was there. I was telling these guys it's like being the actors that say they don't watch their movies. It's I looked at it, but I didn't really watch it. I did have a nice jacket on. I knew that.
Well, obviously, Braylon Trice last year. But what do you like about what you know about Braylon? What do you think?
I was so fired up about Braylon last year, and it's the same thing this year. That injury was heartbreaking for all of us, right? It was heartbreaking for him. It was heartbreaking for us, and to watch him fight and to watch him work and to watch him come back and to watch him get to this moment is what football's about. So I can't wait to watch him, Jalen, Pierce, again. I mean, that's like rookies. Who are we kidding, right? Watch all of those guys just come out here and establish themselves along with their veteran leadership, the flows, the AKs, and out there on the edge. And let's find out what we can do and how we can rush the passer better. That excites me.
because you're a defensive coach and there are so many
I'm not.
and because defensive-minded coach, how's that?
I'm not.
And because there are so many question marks on that side of the ball, how much do you welcome that in training camp? How much do you enjoy that?
I do. I embrace that. I embrace the challenge. I embrace the challenge of all those things. I embraced the challenge last year when we had to get better. I embraced the challenge of trying to figure out how to get better throughout the season, throughout the course of the season. I embraced the challenge of how you do it faster, how you make immediate changes a little bit quicker, in order to not have some of the lows that you did have last year. And I got the best staff in football to be able to help us with that. Whether it's offense, defense, or special teams, with those guys being able to adjust. It's like a lot of fun to be able to go do those things on both sides of the ball, and it's a lot of fun to be able to have the knowledge and be able to talk to those guys, whether it be Zach, whether it be Jeff, or whether it be Marquise, at very high level thinking on their sides of the ball.
Brian, you talk about those evaluations, self-scout in the offseason. When you look at the job.
It's a little harder now.
For you?
Yeah, to self-scout the offseason, with all the restrictions. The only thing you can really do is you can self-scout your performance team. It's like the biggest one for me, and how you got those guys in the training mode. And I really was appreciative of the training mode that we had ourselves in, the readiness that we were ready for, the ability to go out there and get it from the neck up on offense, defense, and special teams. I think those are the most important things. And then when you go out, you really simulate those things out there on the practice field. So today, for the first time, you get a chance to go see some full speed, acclimated offense, defense, and special teams, right? And then like we talked about Monday being the first day of pads is where you get a chance to see the physicality really kick in, right? The competitiveness is now added to it. The one-on-one competitions are now added to it. That competitive juices that is a next level step for performance is now added to it. And all the energy that's created by that is what really excites me about all of it.
How do you address the skirmish, I won't call them fights, the skirmish issue once pads go on, when everybody has a little bit of enthusiasm going?
Really, it's got to be addressed with my young guys and learning how to practice. So, that was a big part of our spring, right? And teaching people how to practice, right? That's the big part of it, right? You don't want to fight, bad teams fight. It's just the nature of the beast, the truth, right? There's going to be some energy levels. There's going to be a learning curve. There's a competitive juice that you got to figure out that's not meant for this practice setting. There's competitive juices that are meant for games that you can't go above and beyond the point where you get penalties or kicked out of a game where you can hurt your football team. So, those things will not be looked at here as something that we want to do, whether we're talking about joint practices or we're talking about our own practices, and definitely in games.
Why is Caden Ellis such an effective pass rusher?
He's unique. He can win from a bunch of different spots. He's versatile in a way where he's categorized as an inside linebacker. You got to make a determination whether you want to dedicate an offensive lineman to him. You got to make a determination whether you're going to try to block him with a back. You got to make a determination whether he is dropping or whether he is rushing. He is one of the unique skill set guys that can do a lot of different things that we got a lot of value for, and we definitely covet in how he's able to do his thing.
You mentioned there were some competitions on the defensive side. There's a spotlight one there in the middle of the line where you've got a big guy to replace. Can you talk about the young nose tackles and where they line up starting practice?
So we're just talking about the interior group because I don't want to clarify them as a nose tackle, but you got David Onyemata, which we all know, and then inside you also have Rook. We have Zach, we have Brandon Dorless, we have a bunch of different guys in there that'll be going out there just fighting their tails off to be able to get some playing time and go. TQ, a bunch of guys that can go out there and do some different things for us, and you could do it in different forms of packages. Obviously, we lost one of our all-time greats when we talking about Grady, but we got to replace it inside along with our outside stuff and along with those parts we talk about the situational awareness are coming in. When does some of your outside guys kick in and replace some of that stuff for you to give some more juice and all those type of aspects. So all those things that kind of go down in the next part of our practices.
Linebacker group seems to be the least talked about group on the football team now. Feels like edge rush, what we have at the back end, offensive line, everything else on that side of the football. Can you just talk a little bit about that core?
I wouldn't know if they were the least talked about. I just think, having the ability to address it with Caden Ellis last year, really having a really outstanding season in my estimation and my thoughts. And then you had a chance to go out there and add a guy like Diablo, and then to have Troy coming back, to have JD getting a little bit of playing repetition last year, a veteran Josh Woods who did some really good things for us in special teams, who's shown that he can play in this league at different points in his career. D-Lo, who kind of does both of them, little inside, little rush, little outside, little down. To have those guys be able to move around, do different things for us, it really excites you. So I think is a deeper group than it was, and it's definitely a healthier group than it was. So I think it's not talked about because of the health of the guys coming back. Last year we were hit by injuries pretty good, and it really rattled us a little bit at times. But we found ways to work around it, and then when guys came back, we were able to go. So I think right now everybody healthy. So I think it's one of the things you're probably just not talking about as much. We got some young guys. Sorry, go ahead, T. No, I don't want to talk anymore.
Don't you feel like
Just in the big picture in the NFL, it seems the linebackers as a group, seem to be the least talked about group on a football field now.
Oh, you mean just overall? I don't know why that is. That's the guy that wears the green dot for most teams. That's the guy that's kind of, making all those calls, those adjustments, those plays. Don't tell that to Jeff Ulbrich. He might get mad at you. These guys are highly respected guys, and Barrett Ruud and all those type of guys. I don't know. I just think, the guys that sack the quarterback and the guys that interceptions, there's no difference in what it's been throughout it all. They're probably going through their running back low that happened a couple years ago that we're talking about till Saquon Barkley went nuts, right? It is what it is. That's just the league.
What are your expectations for Lenny Craig? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go out there and compete. Go out there and be the best version of himself, and looking forward to watching him go out there and compete with Koo. I just think those guys be highly competitive. They'll go out there and have an opportunity to do those things. Obviously I'm fired up to watch him go out there and kick some live bullets in the preseason, and to be able to do the things he's able to do. He's got a big leg, strong leg, and we want to go see how accurate he can be.
Training camp is such a clean slate. Are you someone who buys into the optimism early on, or do you like to remain realistic since it is such a long season?
Your definition of realistic might be different than mine. So I like to just buy into the clean slate and let our guys go out there and kind of define it. It's kind of like when we talk about identity all the time. I'm like, those things got to be defined, daily. I can tell you what I want to be, but that may not necessarily be it when you turn the tape. So you want to make sure it is when you turn the tape. And I just look at that with the team, right? Really optimistic about the guys, really fired up how they came back, really fired up what it looked like up until this point, and now we got to go out there and do it.
You feel like the playmaking has been upgraded with Xavier and Billy, and obviously the help you're talking about guys coming back, just from a playmaking standpoint.
Perfect timing to talk about my general manager who just walked in.
I was just about to say last question.
I mean, he has done an amazing job of really diving deep into the draft, along with his staff and Kyle Smith, Ryan Pace, Tumbo, and all those guys, really sorting out these players and going out there and looking at them in the draft, and then having the ability to give those guys to the coaches and letting us be a part of that process and really go out there and collaborate and look at the guys that we want to bring in and find specific roles for guys that we know we want them to do when they get here. And I would have to say, for sure, the playmaking has been upgraded. When you're talking about a guy like Bowman who's made all these plays and interceptions in the collegiate ball along with Watts, and you're talking about the sack production from either Jalen Walker or you're talking about Pierce, you can't help but be excited about that production that's coming to our team to be with our guys that are already productive. When you talk about Bates, Caden Ellis, and A.J. Terrell, and adding it to that, got to go make it work, get the chemistry to go, and I feel really good about it.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Terry. Fun though.